Not a dieter.
Right.
I never had to. I really started to notice that I could no longer outrun the weight gain. I had absolutely zero nutritional skills. I just would run farther and faster. You have to buy this, it has to be this brand, you have to shop here, you have to have, it was none of that.
We want to introduce you to one of our members. Her name is Kimberly. Kimberly, say hello.
Hello.
Kimberly has been working with Afton since May, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Since May of this year. And it's not the pounds lost that are the most impressive part of her story, but it's the inches that got me from a quantifiable number that I was like, oh my goodness, that's incredible. But there's so much more to Kimberly's story. And Kimberly, why don't we start with what landed you at Nutrition Builds Strengths Door?
Oh, that's such a great question. I would love to say I sprinted right to the door and rang the doorbell, but that is totally not what happened at all. I just turned 50 this year, so I'm 50 years old. And about probably 4 or 5 years ago, I really started to notice that I could no longer outrun the weight gain. And
Yep.
I've been a runner my whole life. And so that was my secret. I had absolutely zero nutritional skills. I just would run farther and faster. And all the things that come with perimenopause, sore joints, brain fog, all that kind of stuff. And I joined a Facebook group called Hit Play Not Pause, which is for menopausal, perimenopausal athletes. And I noticed from January till May, all these people kept mentioning this Afton person as if she was like some, mystical creature. And I just started noticing it time and time. And I'm an engineer, the results. It wasn't, no one said Afton was selling anything. No one said you had to take this supplement or this powder or this. And after, months and months of, okay, enough people, this can't be fake, I reached out and said, all right, I'm going to go give it a try. I stalked you guys online. I joined the free community. I, did a bunch of cyber stalking. And then Bradley, we finally had our call. And I was like, I have found my people. I've found my place I need to be.
For those of you that are tuning in right now, or even on the replay, if you felt the way Kimberly did, or approached your health and your nutrition, your weight management, your weight loss, and the way Kimberly did, do me a favor, give a thumbs up in the comments so she doesn't feel alone. Show a little love there. Tell us what you did that sounded similar to that, because that is a very familiar story.
Yeah, like who thinks they can't just like outwork their diet, and eventually that stops working. Well, okay, so I was just on another call before this, and the woman said the same thing. She said, you know what? I've researched Nutrition Builds Strength. I know all these things about you, but it's really scary to say I need help with my weight loss. So tell us, what is your impressions? Like in the very beginning, was it super terrifying to work with us?
Oh, absolutely not. No, not terrifying. I mean, the hardest part is, I think that woman was right on. The hardest part is having the honest conversation with yourself that you need help and you can't do it alone anymore. And no, it was super easy. I mean, not only easy in that it's quick, like from the time that I said I'm interested and the time I talked to Bradley was maybe 5 days, 6 days, something like that. And it really, again, as an engineer, it wasn't a sales call. It was here's what we do. If this is for you, great. If this isn't for you, that's great too. And then the first call with Afton was wonderful. It was a FaceTime in my own kitchen with my own food. Again, there was no like, you have to buy this, it has to be this brand, you have to shop here, you have to, it was none of that. It was, tell me about your kitchen, and these are my favorite meals, and this is what's working, and this is where I struggle, and this is the chocolate I want to eat every day. And by the way, here's my wine cellar that I like to occasionally. And it was authentic. It was really authentic. It was wonderful, which made me feel like I could actually do it.
Well, speaking of made you feel like you could actually do it. Now, I know your approach was to outrun your food. Had you tried any other weight loss or nutrition programs in the past prior to Nutrition Builds Strength?
I think I tried some intermittent fasting. I think I went keto for maybe a week and was like, nope, that's not going to work. I wouldn't say I tried anything. I did the free trial on Noom, also
Mm,
didn't work. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm really not a diet. I'm not a yo-yo. I'm not a dieter.
right.
I never had to. I just woke up and I don't know if you've ever seen the episode of Homer Simpson, or The Simpsons. Homer comes out of like basically hibernation and he sees himself in 3D for the first time and he has a belly and he has a booty. That's what happened to me. I just woke up and looked in the mirror and like, where did this come from? And then I
I love
realized I've never dieted in my whole life. I've never read a label. I've never done that. I had no skills, no skills. Actually, even worse, I told myself I was an athlete, therefore I needed all the carbs. And I was doing the electrolytes and the carbs and the goo and all the processed food, even on days I wasn't cycling or running.
Well, I think that's what's intimidating sometimes for people is they're like, I'm going to have to go on a diet, but I've never done this before.
Right.
And they're used to people giving them food or supplements, or the woman I talked to before, she's done isogenics, so she's done shakes or cleanses or things like that. When you were like in that kickoff call with Afton and she was like, no, let's talk about the foods that you love, that had to feel a little less intimidating. Like you said, I can do this. Tell me, like, what do you think is a really big pivotal moment or breakthrough that you've gone through during this journey?
Two things. One is my partner, while supportive from a cheerleading standpoint, was also not interested in shakes, food, or things that he doesn't like. And so I was very worried about how I was going to be successful while still I'm the main. I cook most of the food. How was I going to do that? And it was way easier. I don't want to give away all of your secrets and any.
Oh,
No,
you
we
can
give
get all of
them
it.
all away. Go for it.
But the weekly plan is it was my recipes. They were already my recipes. So I knew I didn't have to learn how to cook anything. I didn't already cook. I didn't have to buy anything I didn't already buy, with the one exception, which is I'll say is my second pivotal moment. But otherwise, I'm just gonna close my door real quick. Otherwise, um, it was like easing into it. Also, there was the practice. I really appreciated the practice time because that helped me see for myself kind of where I was at. But the second most pivotal thing was, Afton created this lunch for me and it had a teaspoon of mayonnaise because in the call I said, this is my mayonnaise and I'm going to eat my mayonnaise and this is my mayonnaise. And I texted her on the first day and said, this 1 teaspoon of mayonnaise for a half a can of tuna, that ain't going to work. I need help. And then she came with a substitution of low fat cottage cheese. And I was like, I don't know. It's amazing. And I've told all my friends, I've told everyone, it's like, it was a great substitution. So I didn't have to buy anything I didn't want to buy, but Afton was right there to be able to say, hey, I need help. This substitution's not working, or I need something. And she was right there with ideas to say, try this. And now I love my lunch, and I'm very happy.
Now, if you wanted to use that mayonnaise and stay with the mayonnaise, but you decided you wanted a tablespoon, Afton also would have likely rebuilt your whole plan to make sure that you fit the mayonnaise in too. So
Yep.
I think that's when we say collaborative, like that we do a lot of collaboration here. It's because this isn't us handing you something. No. This isn't just us spoon feeding everything. You are collaborating, learning, right, building every single week, so that eventually, hopefully, you can start to take some of this on yourself, because we would love we have clients that have been working with us for years and we love them, but we want most people to feel like eventually you can go and do this on your own, because life is too short not to enjoy the foods you love and be able to figure out how to make them work in your life.
Kimberly, one of my favorite parts about the whole tuna story is, and this is something that we don't say unless it puts you out, unless it makes it so that whatever we build is going to make you not successful. Mm-hmm. Afton never said no to your mayonnaise. That's right. She never said no. She said, okay, this is what we can make work. And then you went back and you were probably like, oh, You listened to me. You gave it to me. You didn't realize that it wasn't going to be sufficient for you, but she let you go and try that out because you were like, you were digging your heels in the mayonnaise. And it's like, okay, like, who am I to tell you not to eat the mayonnaise?
Right.
You went back and you tried and you went, okay, now you're going to Afton and going, the mayonnaise isn't going to work with me, which is ultimately, I'm sure, if we were to look at the volume and things like that, what Afton was hoping you would say because of the calorie dense option versus the voluminous option. And then that in and of itself, in those first weeks, you learned right away, oh, the answer isn't no. The answer is how much. And is the how much going to be enough to satisfy what that does for me when I'm eating? And that is why we don't, like, why we say all the time, like, we're going to put guardrails in place for you. We don't want to spoon feed you, because if we spoon feed you, you're not going to learn. Right. When you're done with your time with nutrition build strength, you would be, give it 3 months and you would be lost. And that's awesome that happened. And speaking of that, one of the things, and you're still, I don't want to say you're still early on in the program, early-ish, but 2 things that are usually big, what do I say, roadblocks?
Stumbling?
Yeah, roadblocks or points of hesitation is when people come and they are concerned about the cost or time or commitment in relation to the return on that. For someone possibly like yourself or someone that might be feeling that, what is your take on that whole experience?
That's a great question. I was intimidated a little bit by cost. I don't have tons and tons of money lying around. I actually just started my own business a year ago, so I'm a budding entrepreneur, as they say. But
welcome to the club that nobody wants to be in.
Right?
It's hard.
Yeah. But I would say one, the payment plan was great. Like, it's a really nice payment plan, which is fantastic. It also, I'm investing in the rest of my life. Like, I don't know if people are on social media if they're watching this. So you probably have seen the memes that say, like, you either, invest in your health now or you'll be sick later and you'll invest then. But, again, at 50, and it wasn't like I'm trying to get down to some weight number or look a certain way. I have aging parents, and some of them move really well and some of them don't. And it was, I started this second career as a way to have more flexibility, to do more things with my partner. And so I got to be healthy enough to do it. And, so that investment was huge. And the program, I don't know how to say this. It goes slow enough that I wasn't overwhelmed, but fast enough that in my case, I was overeating. So not super hard to see results pretty quickly, because once you dial the calories down to a reasonable amount, and I had no idea I was overeating. I wasn't tracking. I wasn't paying attention. I was like, oh, I had a hard day at the office. This looks great. And so I started to see results right away. And I wasn't fighting in my family, and it was like not overwhelming. So it really was, the first, I would say, 6 weeks was a beautiful recipe to go, yeah, this is worth it. This is totally worth it.
I love that.
I can't believe that was just like, you just got me in the field.
Well, so as somebody who has their own business, I'm sure you spend a lot of hours working, and it's a lot of things to do. And it's so adding on one more thing to your plate is likely not something that you were really super excited about doing. So how does the support, the resources, the community, how has that made it easier for you to add one more thing onto your plate and still be successful from a time standpoint?
I would say it is addition by subtraction. I have not added any more work. Maybe the first couple of weeks of practice while I was figuring it out. I'm actually more free, and I'm not like, you're not paying me to say this. This is actually truly what's happening to me.
These are never.
I have more freedom because Afton, so I'm on a totally different time zone than Afton, and she has been there for me every time. And so the checking in constantly with her, she has great questions. like I'm going on, I have a vacation coming up, and she's like, okay, what do you want? What are your goals for that? Like asking a bunch of questions so we can start planning ahead of time for that. And the pre-logging. So I
Hmm.
was real reluctant to become a food logger. And actually, part of the reason I probably waited till May to call you was I had to grapple with am I going to log my food or not? And I really struggled with that. But I don't log new stuff every day. Like the pre-logging, the copy, and first the apps have come a long way since they first came out. But they're like it's more free because I used to spend a bunch of time. What am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? When am I going to eat it? Oh, I'm too tired. I'm going to order takeout. No, I'm actually, I would argue, funding this by not ordering takeout and going out to eat as much because I have the time and the pre-logging and the wherewithal to prep or make something. So it's a very long-winded answer, sorry, but I don't think I've added anything. I've actually made my life easier, especially my work week, easier by doing this.
So what you're telling us is we need to find the capital to put ads on DoorDash and say,
Save money.
save money,
Yes.
save money and time. Click here instead of there. That's what you're telling me, right?
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
And something I find so interesting, and then we'll start to wrap this up. You're an engineer,
Mm-hmm.
which means you deal with metrics, numbers, and data all day, every day, twice on Sunday. Every decision that you make is going to have a reaction to that decision, correct?
Yep.
You operate in a world where data is
fundamental.
It's not only that, it is the North Star for you. And even you, who we can have an honest conversation, even when you didn't want to track or you were adverse to it, you couldn't look at me dead in the face and say, I don't feel that tracking is the most fundamental and accurate way to go about my weight loss. From your experience with data and data. You couldn't say that, but you still had to overcome that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very interesting because most people that come to us don't have that relationship to data. And when it comes to your nutrition, if you're not tracking, you're guessing and checking on what levers you're pulling, and you really don't know what the reaction to that lever being pulled or not pulled is. What was it that helped you, somebody who does sit in a camp of data all day, overcome something that you already knew to be valuable, and for you to have now the relationship that you have with tracking your food and understanding? What was that like?
I think it was a couple things. One was it was the results that, and don't take this the wrong way, but the results that I saw in another Facebook group, not one sponsored by you, but the other Facebook group, the continued results of, yes, I did this, I tracked my food, here's the weight I lost, and they were my age. They weren't 20. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with people younger than me, but they were menopausal women seeing success without shots, shakes, powders, and all the woo woo stuff. That was one. That was one. And the program of having kind of 5 consistent days and then your bonus days, that you're tracking, arguably, if you do it right, you're tracking 3 days a week and copy and pasting 4 times. It's not that hard to copy and paste.
It's exactly right.
Yep.
So it really, when I thought, like, once I sat down with you, Bradley, we had that conversation, I actually sat down with myself and said, if I hear him right, I literally track 3 days a week and copy and paste 4 days a week. Okay.
Yep.
Turns out I'm really good at Excel. I can copy and paste. Okay.
I'll let you wrap it up then.
Yeah, so I guess we always ask this. If somebody's sitting out there and where you were in, say, April, beginning of May, before you talked to Bradley, and they're like, I'm lost, I see myself in the mirror and I don't recognize who I am anymore, what would you say to that person about joining and working with Nutrition Build Strength and our registered dietitians?
Or how terrifying I am. While I'm painting my daughter's nails and wearing princess crowns and things.
I would say if I could, I would say a couple of things. Number one, you're worthy of help. Number two, it's really hard to go alone. And that's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you and how you got here. Uh, and ev- Olympians use coaches, professional athletes use coaches. I was an executive in a Fortune 500 company. I had a coach. Like, what is the aversion to having a coach, which I really feel, I mean, yes, Afton has all the credentials and everything, as many coaches do, but like, I was an athlete that paid a coach to train for, a marathon. This is no different. And having it laid out, having a guide who's been on the hike, who's been there, who understands, can't do the work for me. Ultimately, I have to climb the mountain, but lays it out in a way that and meets me where I'm at every day that I'm there. It's it's not. I mean, I just do it. That's kind of what I would say is don't blame yourself, don't beat yourself up. Just ask for help. Good help. And this is good help.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Perfect.
I think we need to get Afton a colander for Halloween, and so she can have like these, pretend potions of what people think she actually does. She
Right.
does all her spells that she does to get these results. No, I'm just kidding. Kimberly, thank you so much. If you want to hang on for 2 minutes, you're more than welcome to. For those of you that are listening, if you guys are on the replay, do me a favor, drop some hearts in the comment, drop some fire, show a little love. If you're in your 50s and you felt like Kimberly and you feel like there is nothing that you can do just because you want another 365 around the sun, Kimberly is one of many women that are defying that narrative. That narrative is just in your head. We've helped over 740 plus women since we started the company 4 years ago have successful weight loss stories, not just the weight loss stories, but the success being that they've been able to sustain it in a healthy and safe manner, eating the most amount of food towards the end as possible, eating the least as possible. Nutrition builds strength. Make sure you give Kimberly a lot of love on this. If you have a story similar to hers, please drop it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it because we're here to help. Kimberly is living proof that doesn't matter how old you are, everything is possible. Nutritional Strength, happy Monday, happy last day of September, last day of Q3, and welcome October. We'll see you guys soon.